So we just watched the new CW Kung Fu, and it's very CW, and also Chinesey. I think if you're writing for a mainstream show that it features a minority culture, you have to write around like these expository bomb drops, like a let us eat dinner with chopsticks, as we normally do, because I am a Chinese family. And this show definitely has that. Like, the brother and sister solve a fight over, they have to play a game of ping pong together, and I'll whip your ass as usual. I mean, she doesn't say ass, it's the CW. And the writing is not so deep, so you have this conundrum of like, is this stereotype or is this just shallow writing? Like, oh, the sister's fiance was a mathlete in high school. The brother's a doctor and he works at the community center where everyone plays mahjong and does tai chi. Like, Chinese people do those things, and Chinese American people probably do those things in an immigrant setting. But it just feels like everyone's Chinese in the presentation. But it's a CW show. Obviously, I cannot speak to the Chinese American experience. But they did have the opening in China, in Yunnan province, set in China in Yunnan province. Obviously, it was filmed in California on a lot. And they got some things right. Yunnan province is gorgeous. And the architecture was right, but like definitely didn't look lived in. The monastery where she goes to looked a lot like the tourist welcome center for Luzhou Laojiao, which is like the alcohol company in our city. Also, the free-ranging chickens in the Yunnan village looked super Hollywood. Like, they were so clean, and also a black and white striped variety that I've never seen in China. Peter and I actually did live in a small town in Yunnan for a year, and we did meet an American who was there to study with the monks in a monastery. But overall, I feel like the show represented China very mystical and magical. And then when she comes to the United States, again, everything's normal, but China is the seat of mystical power, which is like, give me a break. So the pilot's nice and pulpy. Girl runs away from her oppressive family, doesn't want to marry who her mom wants her to marry, joins a monastery for 3 years, comes back a kung fu master. After 3 years, seems suspiciously short, but okay, this is TV. Finds out her parents, who are involved with the local triad, which is, you know, a Chinesey word for gang, and then gets herself stuck into some local intrigue. It's interesting, like, Greg Berlanti is involved with this somehow, he also created all the, like, Flash and all the DC superhero shows, and you can definitely tell, like, there's the hero, and then the hero adjacent people who don't have special skills, but, oh, her sister's a hacker, conveniently, and her brother just, like, loves, wow, man, that was awesome, and it's, like, so super cheesy superhero-y, which, if you're into that thing, it's well done. It's well done for that. And there's your usual TV stuff like the parents own a restaurant, but they live in San Francisco. Can you afford a house on a dumpling restaurant in San Francisco? But also, how did the friends afford their apartment? Blah, blah, blah. And the main villain is sufficiently villainy. She kills the master in the first scene, and then we basically see her mwahahaha as they figure out the plan that she needs to collect all the 8 mystical weapons. The first episode opens with, spoiler alert, she's opening an empty cabinet with spots for all the 8 weapons, which seems presumptuous. Like, wouldn't you want to collect 2 or 3 before you start, like, you invest in a cabinet to mount them on your wall? And where did she get the measurements from? How does she know they're all going to fit precisely where she needs them to? I've got questions. The fighting was fun. They had a moment where it seems like who's the potential love interest shows up in a fight in progress, and he, like, basically is without the music happening, there's a da-da-da-da moment when he joins the fight, which is, you know, that's funny. They have the age-old problem of what to do when your hero knows kung fu, but also guns exist, and they handled that I don't know, as well as anybody does. But the cast is engaging. I like the brother and the sister. They're fun. They've got hidden depths, computer hacking, and gayness. The parents mainly exist to be tragic immigrant figures. I sacrificed everything for you and I don't understand you. And then the dad gets beat up. A little one note if you ask me. And you did. It's all pretty silly. As Peter said, it's like another Iron Fist. A little bit better than Iron Fist, especially because the protagonist isn't a white guy. But like, representation is one thing, but all the characters are still very one note. They're just also Asian, and their one noteness feels superficially related to their Asianness in that it's like pressure to marry was the driving force behind the inciting incident of joining the monastery. And I would have liked a little more depth to the characters, a little more of motivation beyond like, or even non having to do with their Asianness. It feels like a plot of a Disney cartoon. I won't marry who you want me to marry. Oh, you're such a headstrong girl. Like, I don't know, that's not that interesting to me. And a police procedural where in San Francisco, where the cops are baffled by the fact that some of the files seem to be in Chinese. They're encrypted and in Chinese. Like, they don't have a Chinese cop on staff. Come on. And the MacGuffin of the 8 magical weapons that you gotta catch them all before the end of the season makes this not a show I want to watch, but a video game I want to play. I do really appreciate, too, that not only is this a non-white majority cast, but that it's very heavily tilted towards women characters. But the lead character herself just seems to be a blank slate of like angst and family betrayal. Again, I love the brother and sister character, but that's not really enough when everyone else around them is so, I don't know. It's not enough for me. I need character, man. Character. To be fair, this kind of fight the baddie and collect all the weapons is like a very wushu movie theme that people are still watching over here. Although I don't know why I'm judging the show on its Chinese-ness. It's Chinese-American. But whatever, I live in China, so that's my frame. But ultimately, I feel like it wears that Chinese-ness as set dressing often. Like, they'll have these establishing shots that are just like close-up of Chinese characters, close-up of old people playing mahjong, close-up of Chinese stuff. And the character motivations are really only like, you wanted me to get married and I didn't want to get married. Mom and Dad, you won't share your troubles with me because you're quiet and Chinese parents and the triad. I mean, it all doesn't. I would need everyone to have 100% more motivation for the things that they do to be interested in this, I think. So I probably won't watch the second episode. Not that I don't like trashy TV, but if you're gonna be soapy, you have to have interesting people. Like there's the love interest and the ex-boyfriend, and they're just like blandly handsome, and then I don't know, there's not enough juice there for me to have it as a trash watch. And to be honest, it's not really. I did watch one episode of the new version of the old Kung Fu that came out in the 90s because my uncle was a big Kung Fu fan, so I watched it with him. But it's not really my thing. And just because it's women fighting interests me as much as men fighting, which is not that much. And I guess, an Asian American cast and crew creating an Asian American story is miles ahead of David Carradine playing a Shaolin monk. Although I feel like white guys trying to be monks is its own thing. Why reboot? Why not make a new story, huh? Hollywood, call me.